In the olden days of the 20th century, things where they have been brewing up. Albert Einstein with his black magic. You tell me what this means. Alan Turing and his weird tape machine. He claims it's a new PlayStation 4 emulator. Henry Ford on his way to do irreversible damage to society and our planet. Sliced bread. And the world of music was about to change too. You see, somewhere around the start of the century, people started getting these funny ideas of replacing this with, well, we don't know yet. We'll figure something out. There was Telharmonium, a devilish device made by Count Dracula, operating the heavy machinery to create sound. Metal cogs grating against metal brushes, thousands of billions of electrical generators, all adding up to 200 tons of weight. And despite all that, the cogs, called tone wheels, actually created a rather smooth sound. Can't get smoother than sine. And the more you added of those, the more you could shape the sound you made for your set. What was funny though is that they invented this big thing, bigger than a house, wired it all up. And there were no speakers invented yet. So Dracula would call his friends back in Romania on the telephone, and they would hear. It was like Spotify, really. However, over the seas, they went fancier with Martenot, Johnny Greenwood's favorite. All these different diffusors, the metallic, the resonance. They had in principle inner workings. This instrument went, keyboard? What's that? How about a little funny ring you can control the pitch with? But then, a little further, the theremin went all like, where controls? What the hell is this alien shit? But after fooling around a bit with black magic, wizardry, sacrificing some people, and espionage too, people started asking real questions about making some real synthesizers. 10,000 billion vacuum tubes, 2 million filters, subtractive synthesis powered, and even with envelope support, the Novachord made by the Hammond organ people was truly ahead of its time. It was polyphonic. You could play one note, 2 notes. What about 3 notes? 72 voices of polyphony. It even had an LFO. And then John Hammond organ came out and said, we've done our thing. Now it's time to go and burn every single Novachord down. Electronic Sackbut was a pioneer in synthesizer controls, had this joystick to control the tempo of the instrument. Also, the keys could move horizontally for that vibrato effect, a piano player's dream. The competition was truly fierce. Each instrument brought in something of its own, making it undoubtedly unique. Which one would win? And then RCA comes in and goes, hey guys! Big. Only 4 variable note polyphony. Big. Broke in a few years' time. Big. And yet, it was nicknamed Victor. And it had this handy punch paper reading thingy where you could tell it which notes to play. A first ever sequencer. It allowed for fast, more complex, funkier music. Is that vacuum tubes? Yeah, like 2 people ever played this one and then everybody forgot about it. That is when a stranger came out from the shadows and unveiled his secret weapon. It gently said, time to Moog. Robert Moog started off as a theremin enthusiast, being absolutely mesmerized by Clara Rockmore's performance when he was 14. He decided to build one of these himself. He demonstrated the project to Raymond Scott, of all people, which said, oh, how cool. Took the thing, got it, everything from the inside, and attached a keyboard. He called it a clavivox. Bob was astonished. Actually, that was just on Martenot without a ring. Since then, Robert made an oath to make funny electric boxes, just like the clavivox. And with the new transistors thingies being invented, he had just the use for them. Voltage-controlled oscillators. These little guys are capable of receiving a certain voltage and outputting a signal of a certain frequency. So essentially, every vacuum tube instrument was shot dead and buried in Robert Moog's backyard. VCO was the thing that powered the Moog synthesizer. Look at the thing. This thing took all these oscillators, filters, noise generators, LFOs, envelopes, and sequencers and made them a standard. The whole thing worked like that. A VCO would make a sound. Something complex and full of harmonics. Passed all of those through a filter, which would go, no, you cannot pass to those higher frequencies, consequently creating a new wave shape which goes through an envelope, which would dictate for how long the sound grows, for how long it stays like that, and for how long it decays after you release the key. And you could stack those oscillators, combine the soul wave with a sine wave and a touch of white noise, put them through another filter, making those. And then you could do the rest of it. It's so simple, really. When the Carlos was like. And one of the best-selling classical albums was made. By the way, Moog synthesizer was monophonic, one note at a time. So to create something so big and so rich, you had to record each part separately, one at a time. Then Minimoog comes out.
2, 1.
Everyone wanted a Minimoog in their home. It was smaller, it was simpler to understand, it was cheaper, it was wicked cool too.
You can get hooked on it.
Are you?
Yeah.
This was when all these Led Zeppelins, Brian Eno's, Pink Floyd's, Donkey Kong started rubbing their hands devilishly, incorporating more and more of this alien technology into their music. The new age was dawning. However, there was also the haters. You think I wouldn't notice that by telling a machine how to play your music, you just outsourced your work and you're nothing but a cheat? I myself am a proud owner and a player of a guitar. I make my own live music. And from the shadows of a door, Don Buchla stood and looked, pondered, but not interested. He was one of the pioneers of this voltage-controlled synthesis too, much like Robert Moog. His Series 100 was a mean one. However, the oscillators were dubious and prone to drift, making playing conventional tunes almost impossible, to which he said, I meant that. I mean, who needs 12 tones when you can go beyond? He aimed for the underground scene with his challenging controls for the instruments. This is 2 sticks. What am I meant to do with this? However, the big boys of music were already onto the new heights of sound synthesis. ARP Odyssey could play 2 notes at once. Yamaha CS80 could play 8. And then Prophet 5 comes out and goes, remember the funny noise you once made but never could replicate again? An added patch memory. First ever instance of presets. Tom York bought 5 of these. That's what the 5 in the name is for. And then the Prophet 10 came out. However, smart people over at Stanford University were asking a question that would change the course of history once more. What if we perform a frequency modulation with 2 different wave shapes and make it digital too? Yamaha ordered 7 of those frequency modulations for the new DX7 synthesizer, which was 7 times better than a DX1, but still a little worse than the new DX9 released in 1983. Although DirectX 11 offered better graphics, all of that would come to an end with the invention of DX21, which was worse than DX7. However, in 1985, John Yamaha will finally conclude the anthology with the legendary DX100. Meanwhile, Roland D50 was the first synthesizer to include a digital reverb effect on it, putting an end to those days of taking your synthesizer to the nearby cave just to get a spacier sound. Telharmonium, the Minimoog, Roland Jupiter 8, Korg M1, Casio Rapman, Donkey Kong Country original soundtrack, Hatsune